The Carter living room looked perfect, as if pulled from a magazine. Lamps glowed softly, paintings lined the cream walls, and a vase of white roses sat neatly on the coffee table. Yet, beneath its elegance, tension rattled the air. Amelia Carter stood tall in her tailored suit, finger pointed at Clara, the young nanny in a blue and white uniform. Clara clutched baby Sophie in her arms, the infant wailing in a pink polka dot onesie. "You were supposed to be careful." Amelia's voice cut like glass. "How could you let this happen?" Clara's lips trembled. She had stumbled over the carpet, startling Sophie into tears, though the baby hadn't been hurt. Still, Amelia's anger felt like a storm. Daniel Carter, leaning against the doorway in his blue suit, watched silently. His frown deepened as his wife's sharp words echoed. Dash dash dash. A fragile balance. Clara had been the Carters' nanny for only 3 months. At 22, she was far from home, working to cover her mother's medical bills. Every paycheck mattered. Losing this job meant more than unemployment, it meant despair. But Amelia wasn't a woman of second chances. A successful lawyer, she valued control above all. In her world, mistakes were failures, and failures were unforgivable. That night, when Sophie was asleep, Amelia confronted Clara again in the kitchen. "This isn't working," she said coldly. "I can't risk my daughter's safety with someone careless." Clara's heart pounded. "Please, Mrs. Carter, I'll be more careful. I promise." Amelia's stare remained hard. "This is not charity, Clara." Daniel, who had been standing nearby, finally spoke. "Amelia, it was a stumble. Sophie wasn't hurt. Don't you think you're being too harsh?" His wife snapped. "Too harsh. She could have dropped our baby." Daniel sighed, but Amelia's decision seemed final. That night, Clara cried quietly in her small room, her hopes slipping away. Dash dash dash. Storms in the house. The following days were tense. Every little mistake, a bottle too warm, a toy left on the rug, was met with Amelia's disapproval. Clara endured it in silence, her kindness reserved for Sophie, who clung to her with love and trust. Daniel noticed how Sophie calmed faster in Clara's arms than anyone else's. He also noticed the exhaustion in Clara's eyes. One afternoon, Clara played on the floor with Sophie, building block towers and laughing each time they fell. Daniel, home on his lunch break, stood in the doorway watching. Clara's joy was pure, and Sophie's giggles filled the house like music. But Amelia stormed from her office, furious. "Clara, I can't focus with this noise. How many times must I remind you?" Clara froze, gathering Sophie protectively. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Carter." Daniel intervened. "Amelia, they weren't being loud." Amelia's glare was sharp. "Don't defend her, Daniel. This is my home, and if Clara can't respect it, she can leave." The words stung Clara like a final blow. She held back tears and carried Sophie to the nursery, her heart heavy. Dash dash dash. A quiet conversation. Later, Daniel found Clara rocking Sophie to sleep, tears streaking her cheeks. "You don't deserve the way she talks to you," he said gently. Clara shook her head. "She's right. I'm just the nanny. You'll find someone better." Daniel knelt beside her. "You're not just the nanny. You've shown more kindness here than anyone. Sophie adores you. That matters." For the first time in weeks, Clara felt seen. His words lit a fragile spark of hope inside her. Dash dash dash. Amelia's awakening. The next day, Amelia's car broke down in the rain. By the time Daniel picked her up, she was soaked, exhausted, and bitter. When they returned home, she walked into the living room and froze. There was Clara, seated on the couch, gently humming while Sophie slept peacefully against her chest. The baby's small hand rested on Clara's cheek, her face relaxed and safe. For Amelia, the sight stirred a memory long buried, her younger sister, years ago, resting in her own arms while she hummed the same tune. Before law school, before ambition hardened her heart, Amelia had known this kind of gentle love. She blinked back tears, realizing how far she had drifted from it. That night, Amelia sat alone with Daniel. Her voice was quiet, vulnerable. "I've been unfair." Daniel nodded. "Clara isn't perfect, but neither are we. She loves Sophie, and Sophie needs that. We all do. Dash dash dash. Choosing kindness." The next morning, Amelia knocked on Clara's door. Clara opened it cautiously, expecting dismissal. Instead, Amelia said softly, "I owe you an apology. I let my fears turn into anger, and I took it out on you. That wasn't fair. Clara's eyes widened, unsure if she had heard correctly. You've cared for Sophie with love and patience, Amelia continued. I see that now. And I'm grateful. Tears welled in Clara's eyes, but this time they were tears of relief. Thank you, Mrs. Carter, she whispered. Amelia gave a small smile. Please, call me Amelia. A warmer home. From then on, the household began to change. Amelia still had her sharp edges, but she tried to notice Clara's efforts rather than her mistakes. She even joined Clara and Sophie on the rug sometimes, rediscovering laughter she thought she had lost. Daniel watched with quiet pride as their home softened into something warmer, less about control and more about love. Clara, free from constant fear, blossomed. Though she still sent her pay home for her mother's treatments, her spirit grew lighter. She was no longer just surviving, she belonged. And Amelia, slowly, learned the greatest lesson of all. Perfection could never raise a child. Only kindness could. Moral. The Carter household never became flawless. There were still disagreements, mistakes, and stress. But kindness became their anchor. The once tense living room grew lighter with laughter. Criticism gave way to gratitude. And a mother who once believed control was everything learned that compassion was the true strength of a family. Because in the end, it wasn't rules or success that held them together, it was kindness. Always kindness.